So now another discussion about style checkers, and then we can close this topic. So I want you to show how to make a style checker. So using style checkers is interesting. You just find a style checker on the market, you decide which one is good for you, and then you just use it. And I believe that the more style checkers you use, the stronger they are, the more of them you find on the market and include into your project, the stronger your code, the stronger your project will become, and the higher will be the quality of the code. So you, if you are the architect of the project, you should constantly be looking for additional methods of making the life of programmers difficult. Because extra style checking is actually making the life of programmers more difficult. So for programmers, writing code will become more and more complex task, because they will have to remember what is the right way to format the code, what is the right way to put the space, to put the bracket, to put to how long should be the line and all that. But that's how you improve the quality, that's how you increase the quality. So sometimes you will even want to create your own style checkers, and I will show you how to create your own, and then we'll show you how to extend the existing one. So first, let's see how you can create your own. A few years ago, actually a long time ago, I got a concern in my projects about the formatting of XML file. Who is using XML in your projects? Still using or like to use or love to use XML, okay. Because I know many people use JSON right now, or YAML, or all the other formats, but XML is the most powerful and the most, in my opinion, the most interesting format. So XML is a good language for formatting the code, but people use it not always correctly. Again, we can go to the project which we saw before, this one, and see how these people format their XML files. Oops, we need this GitHub stuff. Sorry. So let's see. Again, I love this project a lot, but I'm making an example from them because you know, I have questions to the way they format the code. Well, this is actually not a bad example, because their XML is well formatted. Maybe let's take what they do here. Yeah, this is not probably the worst XML I've seen in my life, but I've seen way worse documents which are designed like this, for example. So if you look at this way they formatted the tag here, like what the hell is this? I mean, we know what is this, but it doesn't read right. I mean, they here look at how they ended the tag here and why they did it this way here. So there's, again, no uniformity in the formatting of the code. So I tried to find something like that. I posted even a question on Stack Overflow. Or maybe it was not my question, but I remember I posted something like this as well. Yeah, but that's my answer. So people were also asking for this. That was, you see, that was long time ago. So how to format, how to perform XML style checking. So let's say we have a file. Let's say we have a file and we call it like this. So let's make this file and format it like this. You know XML. For example, we format it like that, which is wrong. I mean, this format is right, but this format, if you do it like this, then it doesn't look good to me. So I made the tool which is called XCOP. So XCOP, you run it like this, and you give it the file, and it tells you what's going on in this file. So what it says, it prints you the content, and it says invalid XML formatting in this file, and it shows you with the green. It's basically a different. Now I'll explain you how it works inside. So if you look at this, you will see that it complains about this line. I can make it even more obvious, so you will see that it complains about just one line. Let's put it this way, for example. We have too many spaces. Let's run it again. So it shows it's too many green. So let's for example, we want it So we have a, let's say, properly formatted file. Okay, the output we see is not maybe so readable as we would expect, so it doesn't show us that the problem is in this particular, yeah, it does, sorry. The problem is with the tabs. So it wants us to have 2 tabs instead of 4. Still something is wrong. It uses the tabs, okay. Yeah, let's see this way. Yeah, just 1 line. No, actually not 1 line. It wants me to add this preamble here, and it wants me to finish the document with an empty space, with an empty line. So that's what it says, you see? With the red, it shows me the previous line. With the green one, it shows me how it expects it to be. So that's what we had. This is what it wants. So it expects the XML document to be formatted in a certain way. And many people don't do that. If you look at your projects, if you look at Java projects, for example, where people use XML for configuration files, then these configuration files are not well formatted in most cases. So people just format it any way they want. They don't pay attention to the tabs, to the indentations, to everything. And in the end, they get a mess. So if it's just 1 file for you and you work with the file, then it's okay if it's formatted the way you want. But if there's a team working in the project, you want each format, each file, to look nicely, to look in a uniform way, the same as it was before, the same as it was after your changes, after my changes, after the changes made by different people. So I made a tool, and we use this tool in all our projects. So everywhere where we use XML, we use XCOP. So XCOP is similar, the name is similar to RuboCop, so it's the COP for the COP for XML files. When you change something in the file, you submit your changes, I run this XCOP, and it will complain about your code. So, and it also can fix. The same way as RuboCop fixes, I can ask XCOP to fix my file. So I say fix, and it will say fixed. So if we go to the file, you see, it removed the space. So for example, I formatted this way, which is completely wrong. So I go here, I say fix, and it puts it back. So you can give a huge XML file, which was dirty before, and it will not break any content, it will not change any content, it will just position everything in the right place. It will just fix the style of your XML file. And it will become much cleaner than it was before. So I can show you, I don't know, some file, some big file in some big project, which, for example, maybe this one, this framework. So POM XML is a configuration file for Java projects usually. So you can see, no, hold on. Yeah, this way. So you see how big it is. And it is formatted. Why I cannot scroll? Yeah. I mean, maybe you're not used to XML formatting, but if you look at this document, when I look at this document, it looks completely clean to me. So all the indentations are right, everything is indented by 2 spaces, everything is right in the line, there are no empty lines, there are no garbage, everything is like from the book. How to do that and how to maintain that? You cannot maintain it by hand. You cannot always sit in the project and review every pull request and find the problems which people may introduce into your code. For example, some programmer would like to change, I don't know, the version of this dependency. The programmer will do it like this and say, I increase the version of the dependency to this one. But the programmer will leave these empty lines around the line. And it happens. And also the programmer can do this. And the programmer will send the pull request to you. And in this pull request, that's going to be the change. So you will have to look at it and say, hey, you broke the formatting, so why did you put these empty lines in here? Please put it back like this. But you will not do it every time. It will be a very boring job for you as an architect. Eventually, you will just start ignoring that. And eventually, your XML will be completely out of control and not nice at all. So that's why we created XCOP. How do you think this XCOP works? How would you implement it? If I give you this task, so you need to make this XCOP, how would you implement it? In 2 hours. You have 2 hours to implement XCOP. Any ideas? That's a good idea, but no, I didn't have any similar repositories. So how, again, think. Say again? Regular expressions. But how many regular expressions you can write? I mean, it's very complex format, so how can you write regular expression to, I mean, it will be quite difficult, I think. Say again? Exactly, that's right. So that's how it works. So I take the XML file, I read it into the parser. I write it in Ruby, but you can write it in any language. So you read it using XML parser. The XML parser will build the tree in the memory, will build whatever it builds in memory, and then you ask this parser to print the XML. So the parser will print it the canonical way, the right way. So you take my XML file, you parse it, and you print it back, and then you compare. You compare what's done. So take a look at the code. So this is how it works. So the difference, so it says XML, it asks this Nokogiri. Nokogiri is the library to read XML. So it reads the XML from the file, from the path, and then it makes the ideal XML. So it takes this XML, which is not anymore a text, it's an object in memory, and it asks this object to print itself to XML using two spaces as indentations, and then it says, then it reads what's in now in the file. So we have ideal XML and we have now XML. And then we use the diff tool, which compares the ideal text with the text in the file and prints the difference and shows where are the problems. It's very easy. We can do the same in Java, we can do the same in JavaScript, and every language potentially. We can read the Java and then print back in the perfect way how it should look, maybe. But I've never met any style checkers which work like this. So maybe it's okay for simple formats like JSON, but I didn't have anything like that for other languages. So I'm just curious right now, do we have something like that for JSON? JSON style checker. Formatter and validator. JSON formatter. Maybe we can do the same. So you see this JSON online validator and formatter, but that's online. So do we have something which I can use inside my build so that it's going to be like a command line tool? JQ is, yeah, that's a good example. Maybe it may work, right? So anyway, I don't use JSON much, but would be great to use it. Because again, that's for configuration files. When in your repository you have configuration files and they're written in JSON, then you probably want them to look nice. You don't want to be messy, you want them to be messy, you want them to look nice. So that's how you create your own style checkers. And sometimes we do style checkers even for languages which you would not expect. For example, for Bash. You know that even for Bash scripts, there exists a style checker or /static analyzer, which will tell you what is formatted wrong and what needs to be written differently, which is also a very convenient tool. For example, in this tool, Bash, I don't remember how it's called, style checker, shell check, right? So this shell check, it will tell you, if you write the code like this, for example, you say A equals to 1 and then echo A. It will complain now Why? Because, okay, it asks me to, like this. No issues detected. Okay, that's not right. Yeah, so it's not assigned. So probably it's not assigned because, okay, so I can say here, maybe like this. So this is, you see, it complains because this code is not perfect, so it wants me to do this. Because without the quotes, this $1, you understand what the problem may be, right? Because if in the $1 we have the value which contains a space, then basically that's going to be 2 arguments instead of 1. So for echo it doesn't matter, but if I say like this, for example, then that can easily lead to error, because if this $1, which is the argument coming from the command line, equals to something like that, for example, then, and that's the name of the directory. Let's say this is my name of the directory which contains the space. Then this is going to be the error because it will expand to basically this. So it will be ls hello and then ls on world. So ls is not going to understand that it's one name. In order to prevent that, you need to always write like this. And then it will be like that. So this spell check, what is called shell check. This shell check is the style checker for your bash scripts. So if inside your repository you have bash scripts, you definitely need to use shell check or something like that, which will be executed, as we will discuss later, inside your continuous integration pipeline, inside your build pipeline, your merge pipeline. So you will always run it before you accept the changes. The idea of style checking and many other things which we'll discuss later is always to prevent you from accepting changes. It's basically building a barrier, building a wall between your project and your contributors. So you want your contributors to hit the wall when they want to push the code to your repository. They come to you with the code, they try to put it into your master branch with a pull request, and they have to pass many checks. The more checks you introduce, the better for you, the more trouble for them. Temporary troubles, the troubles while they work on the pull request. When they commit, the repository remains in the same quality as it was before. So long term, overall, everybody will win. They and you. Everybody will be happy. But on each pull request, of course, they will suffer from the problems they have committing the code. And now let me show you how to extend existing static analyzers. Maybe it will be interesting for you. So that's going to be internals of we wrote a static analyzer some time ago, which is called Qulice. You see the name on the top. Qulice, Qulice. It's like police, but quality police. So Qulice. Qulice is very popular in our projects, at least. Very popular. It's not really a static analyzer. It's not even the style checker. It's an aggregator of a number of style checkers. So many years ago, I had many Java projects where I had to configure a number of static analyzers for my Java code, particular find bugs, checkstyle, and PMD. So there are 3 static analyzers, 3 type style checkers. And it was always some job for me, some work to do, in each new project to configure them again and again, to put the right configuration. So I decided, how about I create the aggregator of them? So I put these 3 tools together and make them do the job the same way in each project of mine. So that's what I did. I put them together, and I realized that these 3 tools are quite powerful, but not powerful enough for me. So I have my own understanding of what is the not high quality, but good style of coding in Java. So I have a few principles which I would like to enforce, but these tools, they don't enforce these principles. So I extended them. So I created this Qulice, and inside Qulice, I extended them with a few rules, and I can show you these rules. For example, the checkstyle. So the checkstyle is the style checker which we use, and we extend this style checker with a number of additional checks. So if you go here, so these are the checks which we wrote for the style check, for the coulis, for the Checkstyle. So in Checkstyle, they have built-in, off-the-shelf, maybe a few hundred rules, a few hundred checks, as they call them. Check, check. You see extensions of the file, the suffix of the file. Constant usage check, bracket structure check, something check, check, check. They have hundreds of them. But these checks are mine. I mean, not mine. There's a community of people working on this. But initially, it was just me. So I created just a few of those checks. And then other people extended this with more and more and more checks, which we believe are important. I can give an example of one check, which is quite, again, controversial, but I believe it's important. Empty lines check. So this check we introduced in, again, maybe 10 years ago, maybe a bit less. So it works like this. I think that for a good Java project, it is important to have, let me find some Java code here. For example, that's my Java framework, our Java framework, and that's some simple Java code. Who is, by the way, a Java programmer here? Just one, really? What kind of languages do you use? Pascal? Who is using C++, C++? Also, again, one. Okay, Java, C++, they're a major language. Okay, Python. There you go. Okay, Python, JavaScript. Just one. So what's left? Go. Just one. Rust. Oh, there you go. Good. Two people. Rust. Okay. What I didn't say? Ruby maybe. Ruby. Anybody writes Ruby? Nobody. Okay. Ruby, Rust, Swift, Objective-C. Okay, one person, two people. What else do I know? Which one? Second? Java? Yeah, I asked Java. So who writes Java? No, I asked before. You said just one person. Now we have more. Okay. You were too shy to admit that, huh? Okay. All right, so let's take a look. This is Java code. So this is the code which was written by maybe by myself, maybe somebody in our team. So I believe that it's my personal feeling about Java and other languages that this is a mistake. That you don't put an empty line inside a body of a method. So the method has to be like a solid piece of text. So it shouldn't be broken by empty lines. So if you look at my Java code, which I wrote for the last 10 years, then you will never see anywhere an empty line inside the method. So I never do like this. And I believe it's a mistake when people do it like this. Why? Because if you need to put an empty line in your method, it means that your method needs to be broken into parts. So if you need to explain the reader that there are two different parts by splitting them with an empty line, it means that these parts are begging you to be extracted into new methods, into 2 or 3 or more extra methods. So that's my rule. But I never seen this rule in any style checkers which I used for years. So that's probably it's probably a controversial rule, but we enforce this rule in all our Java projects. In order to make this rule happen, we created our own checker for coulis. And I'll show you how it works. There it is. It's called empty lines check. So in order to extend a style checker, which you can do as well, you can take Checkstyle, you can take Rubocop, you can take, what do you use for JavaScript? ESLint. I use ESLint. I don't know what you use. ESLint. For Python, you can use, what it is, PEP 8, or what's the name for Python? For C++, you can use maybe CPP check or CPP lint, something. But think of them not as of black boxes. That's my point. So they're not black boxes. They're quite open, pieces of code which you can extend, and that you're welcome to do that. So that's one of the examples. So you just create in all of them, which they are rule-based. So they're based on rules. It means that there's just any style checker, that's just a collection of rules which can work individually. So they don't need to exist altogether. You can extract some of them, you can enable some of them, you can disable some of them. So they're configurable instruments. And how do you configure them? By enabling, disabling, or configuring the rules. For example, I showed you this Rubocop configuration. And in the Rubocop configuration, you see these are the names of the rules, and this is the configuration of the rule. So you mention the rule you want to exist in your code, and then you say, this is the configuration parameter. Some rules, they may have a number of configuration parameters. Some of them just one or maybe 0. So in this case, look, I say this rule, and then it's the configuration parameter, enable false. So I don't want this rule to exist. And here I say, cyclomatic complexity, please check it. And if it's more than 25, then raise an issue, raise a problem, raise a bug. For example, here, multi-line ternary operator. So if you see that, don't complain, enable false. Or for example, method length. If you see the very long method, please don't complain about that. So I basically disable some of the rules, which you can also do, which is not really a good practice because people were thinking about them. People actually wanted you to have them. So when you disable them, you're making your style checker weaker than it should be. But you can create your own rule, give it a name, and it will work. So that's how we did it. How it works. So that's the design we take from Checkstyle. So for example, you see this is the class, empty lines check, extends abstract check. Abstract check is coming from Checkstyle. You see that's the name of the class, which we take from Checkstyle. We use their API. So we implement our code according to their expectations so that then they can use this code. Basically, it all works. Usually, these style checkers, they work based on AST. AST, probably you know what it is. It's abstract syntax tree. So your style checker here, your check in Coulis, in Checkstyle, is implemented as a visitor of the AST. So they come to you, to your object, and they say, here's the AST. Please go through, look at this AST. And if you have some concerns, then report those concerns. So first of all, this method will be called by Checkstyle. They will say, please visit this token, visit this place in the AST. We do the analysis of this place. We check whether this is the right place to look at, whether it's inside the constructor or object block or it's a method. So we basically position ourselves here to understand whether we're interested. And then it says, okay, you saw that, so now finish and make your report. And we do the checking, and if something goes wrong, we print this. We say log, so when you say this.log, then you basically create a complaint, raise a concern, and this concern goes to this log method is coming from it's from the Checkstyle. So this log method will create, you see, messages, add, blah blah blah. It will build the whole infrastructure, the whole structure in memory, which then will be printed. And that's it. Then we clear up everything and we say, okay, we finish, and that's it. And a few supplementary methods, which are ours, we wrote them in order to complete the check. So that's it. That's the entire check, which you can write probably in maybe half an hour, inject it into Checkstyle, and boom, the Checkstyle is more powerful now. Checkstyle complains about empty lines. So we made maybe a few dozens of such checks. This is the full list of them, you see. And maybe, I don't know how many, 30 here or something like that. And they check whether you, or for example, the check for the brackets. Also another style bracket structure check. So I believe that the right structure of a code in Java or not Java, in any language, is this. Let's remove that. So if it's Java code, then it's another idea for you how the code should be written. I don't know anything. So people usually don't know how to put the brackets together. For example, here. So we open, okay, maybe I'll give you something more complex. Let me find some code which is bigger than just a few lines. Yeah, this one, maybe. Anyway, let's say you create a structure. Let's take a look at this one. So people don't know usually they make mistakes with the positioning of brackets. I suggest this rule, which again we use in all our Java projects. The rule is simple. If you open the bracket, then you have to close it either on this line, here, or it should be the last symbol on the line. That's the rule. So either if you close it here, again, you have to finish this expression on this line, then it's okay. Or if you don't finish, then don't do it like this. Because you open it here, you don't close it here, you see, it's missing here because you close it somewhere else. You close it on, where do you close it? You close it here. So that's where you close the bracket. You opened it here, it's not the last symbol on the line, and you don't close it in the same line. So it's wrong. So again, the rule, if you open it, close here, or make it the last symbol on the line. The same for the closing one. If you close it here, then the opening one should be either in this line somewhere here, or it should be the first symbol of the line. So if you follow this rule, then you will never ask yourself a question how to format the code. Let's take a look at the code written inside Checkstyle. This log method. Take a look. Do they follow my rule here? I think they don't. Look at this bracket. It opens here. It's okay. We don't close it here, so it stays here. But if you look at the closing one, this one, it was not opened on this line, and it is not the first one. So it should be the format. I can't modify it here, but if you copy it, so it would be better to format this code like this. This should stay here, this should stay here. That's right. Now we have the proper code. So when you open it, you understand the rule. When you open it, close here, or make this steps, this ladder of the brackets. So that was my suggestion for you, how to make your own style checkers. I think we are ready to finish. We started at 1:10, so we need to finish at 2:40. Now it's 2:35. Any questions maybe in this regard? People in the chat want to ask a question. Okay, let me. Oh, maybe we don't allow them. Okay, hold on. No, they can chat. Oh, in Telegram. Okay, somebody wants to talk on the microphone. Okay, I can allow you that, but it's better if you type the question or if you... Okay, guys, I allowed you to unmute yourself, so go ahead and ask questions if you want.
I would like to ask a question. I was writing it, but it will take me long to write.
Okay. Go ahead.
So the question is regarding the parentheses rule we talked about last. You said we can either close it in the same line or close it on the same level as the first symbol in the line, right?
No, not exactly, not the same level. About the levels, I didn't say anything. I said we can open it, if I, for example, I say like this, well, this is my code, let's say. So now the question is, how can I format it in multiple lines, right? So this is one line, that's perfectly all right. And now I want to break it into 2 lines, for example. So how do I do this? For example, I want to break it here. For example, I want to break it here. This is wrong. Why? Because the problem is in this symbol. The symbol is opened on this line, but it doesn't close on the same line. So I cannot do this. This is illegal. The only possible way to break it is to break it here. Here, and here. So I didn't say how to put them, so maybe you can put it like this, but logically would be to put it like this, because you opened this on this line, so we know which line you opened that, so it would be logical to use the same indentation, which is 3 here. Here is 1, 2, 3, so 3 levels of indentation. And here we have 3 levels of indentation. So you open this line here and here. This is legally formatted code. If you want to make it even larger, then you put it this way and that way.
Yeah, okay, that's clear. Thanks so much.
Yeah, yeah. But the rule is simple, and I actually wrote a blog post about that, which explains this rule in more details. Paired brackets it's called. So this is the blog post. I will send it to the chat right now, which explains in much more details how to do it, with the examples of a few programming languages. Let me share it with you. There you go. Yeah, the rule is called paired brackets, and it's JavaScript, Python, all the possible languages. Because I was also asking myself this question multiple times and didn't have the answer, so I made this rule. A bracket should either start and a line or be paired on the same line. So that's the formal definition of the rule.